JJ McCullough is a world-famous YouTuber, snow Mexican, and political pundit. But in a recent live stream, he said this.
To imagine an America that abandons its own constitution in favor of authoritarianism, to imagine an America that embraces corruption and the chronic breaking of the rule of law is just an ordinary part of politics, an America that abandons its allies overseas and abandons important institutions that America helped create, like NATO, an America that sort of sucks up to Russia rather than standing by victims of Russian aggression. There's just so many ways in which Trump represents the antithesis of all that has made America the great country that I love.
Now, I'd like to go point by point to explain why he has contracted terminal Trump derangement syndrome.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
Okay, he doesn't actually have TDS. He's an extremely intelligent man, and I do enjoy his content. But I gotta spice up my videos with fake drama.
To imagine an America that abandons its own constitution in favor of authoritarianism.
Abandons own constitution? Famously, far-right publication Forbes has made a handy-dandy list of the top 10 worst examples of Obama violating the US Constitution. Everyone's second favorite painter, who was infamous for his illegal wars, definitely followed the Constitution. TikTok's #1 trans stan managed to get the ACLU on many occasions to write viral articles on how Ice Cream's #1 fan used the US Constitution as TP for his bunghole. And the sexiest president to ever blow into brass has a stellar reputation when it comes to being BFFs with the US Constitution.
That's weird.
I've noticed a trend.
To imagine an America that embraces corruption and the chronic breaking of the rule of law is just an ordinary part of politics.
Embrace corruption and chronic breaking of the rule of law? Some would say business as usual, which might be surprising if this is your first ever election or have been in a coma for almost 40 years.
An America that abandons its allies overseas and
abandon its allies? Agent Orange is gonna abandon our allies? Really? Like how Biden abandoned our Afghan allies? Or how Bush, both of them, abandoned our Kurdish allies? Okay, well, to be fair, literally every president in my lifetime has done exactly that. Sorry, Kurds. But even before I was born, we've been doing that. Ever heard of South Vietnam? I wonder why it no longer exists.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, we have a long history of abandoning our allies.
Uh-oh, spaghetti-o.
A classic oopsie daisies, if you will. YOLO! Now this might feel like one big whataboutism, but I'm trying to clearly demonstrate that Trump is literally no different than any other president, and everything JJ has said is just fear-mongering. Okay, well, maybe except January 6th, which some might say was a mostly peaceful protest.
Freedom fighters can't put up much of a fight if they aren't armed.
Remember, kids, they're only terrorists if they lose. But riots are just as American as apple pie. Anyone remember the Summer of Love? I know, there's a difference. Even though the police were busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking competition that day, January 6th clearly demonstrated that no matter how hard Trump tried to steal the election, he wasn't able to. That event should give you massive amounts of faith in our democracy because of how strong it actually is.
You got to have faith, player.
Our decentralized election system can't be rigged and it can't be stolen. Just my opinion, which happens to be factually accurate because I'm always correct. I assume this is where other Republicans are gonna turn off my video, so let's get back to JJ's nonsense.
abandons important institutions that America helped create, like NATO.
Abandons NATO? It clearly states in the NATO contract, or whatever the official NATO pinky promise on paper thing is called, that each country will spend a bare minimum of 2% of their GDP on defense. Our allies for decades have failed to meet the absolute bare minimum to be part of NATO, because they fully rely on the US military for their defense.
Shame.
Poland gets a free pass because they're perfect. Don't ever change, Poland. There's a super popular thing in Poland where they pretend to be Americans for a weekend. I'll link it below. Anyways, Trump told NATO to step their shiz up, and look what happened. Some of them actually did. Trump also told Germany not to be reliant on Russian energy, and look what happened to them.
How stupid can I be?
European countries have free healthcare because they don't have to spend their own money on a military that will defend them if someone like Russia were to invade. I will now take this time to acknowledge the hypocrisy of me complaining about our lackluster allies. after admitting we have been a lackluster ally to some countries. America!
You know, an America that sort of sucks up to Russia rather than standing by victims of Russian aggression.
Sucks up to Russia? When did Russia first invade Ukraine? 2014 when Obama was president, and then again in 2022 when Biden was president. I wonder why Putin didn't invade Ukraine when Trump was president. Almost like Trump would have nuked Moscow if Russia invaded while he was president. Definitely a weak on Russia kind of president, am I right, libtards? Here's a very long list of Trump's actions against Russia during his 4 years in office. JJ also said Trump was going to lock up his enemies if he gets elected. Why does that sound familiar?
I mean, crooked Hillary spent 3 or 4 times more money than us, right? So crooked Hillary, you should lock her up, I'll tell you.
Is Hillary in jail? So if Trump was going to lock up people like he claims he will, why is Hill Dog still free? You can't call him a liar and then also tell me we need to trust what he says. JJ's live stream crashed twice and I wasn't able to get that part screen recorded, so you'll just have to trust me, the most honest man in America. But you've definitely heard people, many people, say Trump will lock up his enemies if he gets reelected.
Is that if Donald Trump does win, there won't be a Democrats go back and figure out how to get more voters. There will be camps. There could be arrest of people like Adam Schiff.
Fingers crossed he does it to Adam Schiff. JJ's take on Donald Trump feels a lot like a 12-year-old trying to teach his grandmother how to have babies.
What did you just say?
I'm from Florida, so I'm allowed to say that. The point of my video here is that I'm so gosh dang tired of everyone pretending that Trump is somehow uniquely bad. That Trump is anything but business as usual for an American president. That my own immediate family members have been brainwashed by mainstream media to see Trump as the end of our democracy.
You say brainwashed, I say made it into a game.
But if you made it this far in the video and still somehow think he's really that different from any other president with his actual policies, then please feel free to use the comments below to let me know how insane you are. I'll read them with a very open mind and a very open brown eye. Because I read all your comments when I'm pooping. If you ever get a comment back from me, there's a good chance I'm pooping and poop is actively coming out of my butthole. After I edit a video before I upload it to YouTube, I watch my own videos to see if I catch any editing errors. And I feel like I may have gone a little too hard or maybe too mean to JJ. He's actually a creator I respect. And he's just, I watch his content a lot. So I was able to see him and record him saying this stuff and responding to it. But it's just more me using his name for SEO. Thanks, JJ.